I wanted to make this little video about this assignment because I have noticed in the past, particularly the past, well, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, even a year or so before COVID, that students really struggle with this assignment. Part of the reason is I think some students are coming um, a number of years after English 101, so they've forgotten a lot of their English 101 skills. And some students never really learned these things in English 101, and so they can't apply them. For those of you who've come recently out of English 101, particularly if you came out of my 101, most of this will seem familiar, but I thought maybe if I make a video and point some things out, even if you're an in-class student, this will help you, or an online student, this will help you maybe earn better points on this assignment. So your tentative microargument is really going to be the heart of your final paper. And so I want you to do as best you can on it. I will give you feedback, which will help you revise it, but I don't want you to make silly mistakes, which will cost you points. So first off, remember, always review your pro-con argument. And I would suggest that you go ahead and read the rest of the report that I've linked to you in the pro-con argument. This will help you start thinking about the issue and additional reasons, additional evidence you might want to use. You have already submitted a tentative claim or conclusion, your opinion about the issue in this argument, and I've already given you some feedback. So for example, I might say, hey, don't use the word believe, don't use the word feel, make sure it's a complete statement, that sort of thing. Make sure it addresses the issue. So if you haven't already, make sure you look at your feedback that I've provided you for that assignment from last lesson. And now what you're going to do is you're going to figure out, from a strong sense critical thinking standpoint, what is the best evidence I can use to support my claim, and what reasons can I draw from that evidence. So in strong sense critical thinking, we come from evidence up, and that's what you should be doing. However, you'll notice that the directions say, list your reasons and list the evidence that supports it. So you might want to first look at the evidence that supports what you think your answer to the question is, and then from that evidence, see if you can come up with a reason that then is generated from that. And remember, reasons are types of opinions. So what you want to do is you want to isolate two reasons each, or two reasons, and then for each of those reasons have a piece of level 2 evidence, one of the 10 types that we've talked about. I would say probably not personal evidence for this assignment, but so one of the other 9 types. And you're going to, that evidence is something that is level 2. So in other words, it belongs to a source. It might be, it's very likely going to come either from the pro-con or it's going to come from the report. So because it's level 2, it will need to be attributed, it will need a citation. So again, you have already decided what you think about the issue. You'll revise your conclusion, your claim conclusion, and then you're going to come up with some reasons why you think what you think and the evidence of how you know what you think is valid. So a couple things here. You only need 2 reasons and a piece of evidence each. You can have more, but you only need those 2 to get full credit for this assignment. I have a really important point here. I don't want you to take reasons for why you think what you think and quote them directly out of the pro-con or even out of the rest of the report. The reasons need to be stated as your own words as best as possible. If you use the ChatGPT, the Quillbot, or any other kind of AI program to sort of paraphrase a reason that you've gotten from a source, that's fine, but make sure that you then go back through and you rehash it one more time, run it through your own way of thinking, your own language, all maintaining academic formal, of course. You want to make sure, one of the things you learned in English 101 is that you want to avoid contractions, you want to avoid second person you, that kind of stuff. But anyway, the reason should be stated as your own, and then the evidence needs to be level 2 evidence. Now for the evidence, you can directly quote the evidence from either the pro-con, from a source through the pro-con, like you follow one of the hyperlinks, through the rest of the report or some source mentioned in the report. You can quote. If it's easier for you at this point, you can quote. If you want to go ahead and try to summarize or paraphrase it, you can do that as well. Oftentimes students find it easier just to lay in the evidence as a direct quote at this point, and then maybe later in the final draft of their argument, work it in as either summary or paraphrase. But no matter what, no matter you summarize, paraphrase, or directly quote, evidence is coming from a source. It's not coming from your head, it's coming from a source, meaning you will have to have attribution and citation. Now I gave you this document here, which will link to your semester's pro-con that will provide you with the works cited or reference page, depending if you choose to use APA, as well as what those MLA or APA citations would look like, whether they are indirect quotes or they are straight up quotes from the source. So you can review that. Now, once you have listed out your 2 reasons and then the evidence under them that support it with their attributions and citations, I want you to go ahead and tell me which of the types of the 10, remember, don't use personal evidence for this assignment. So whether it's factual evidence, data, statistics, artifact, objectively obtained observation, expert authority, opinion, research study, testimonials, case examples or analogy, list the type, and it might be multiple types. So if it's a research study, it might be a research study that reports out statistics and data, something like that. Go ahead and supply a works cited or reference page of the sources you use. So one source you're going to use is of course going to be your full report that's linked in the pro-con. You'll use that. You should list it because you're going to end up, whether you draw evidence directly from it or not, you'll end up having to cite it in your final argument because you will have to give the genesis for the issue. So go ahead and put that, and again, that's formatted for you in this document. And then if you went outside the report or you clicked on any hyperlinks in the pro-con, you'll need to also cite those. Now remember, in English 101, we talked about if you have a source and you need to put it in the correct format, MLA or APA, there are tools at the SEC Library website you can use. You can look to see wherever you got the source if the page itself gives you a citation link. You can Google up MLA citation for online article or APA citation for online article. You can find it. So do the best of your ability to put it in the correct format. Then you're going to put all that. It's going to be an outline form in a Google Doc. Go ahead and submit it. Then run it through, turn it in, and get that report. This will show you whether or not the reasons that you might have borrowed, but try to put in your own words, whether or not they are sufficiently in your own words. And in the off chance that you tried to summarize or paraphrase evidence, it will show you if you've done a sufficient job or if you still need to work on that. Also run it through Grammarly Premium so you can clean up any grammar usage, mechanics, that sort of thing. Keep in mind when you run it through Grammarly Premium, you always want to set it at the academic domain type essay format, MLA or APA if that's your choice. And then grab that report as well and make any changes you need to make, and then you can do a resubmit or through a new attempt before the due date or within 24 hours of the due date. So let me show you very quickly what your outline will look like. Remember, we've been following along with Jen and what her class did back in 2008. They did this pro-con argument here on street gang violence. So what she had in her Google Doc, here's her revised claim. You'll notice she's not using to feel or to believe verbs. And then I want you to go ahead and outline your tentative argument this way, identifying reason 1, the evidence that goes with it, reason 2, the evidence. Now, she does not have any supporting reasons under her reasons. You may, And you would just list them as supporting reason one, supporting reason two, so on and so forth. So again, notice that she has her claim, her conclusion. I think street gangs do not represent. Why? Because fewer young men are being drawn to street gangs. Now, yeah, she didn't have that reason in her head. She gathered it from reading the pro-con, from reading the rest of the report, and she put that into her own words. Right underneath that, she has her evidence. This first piece of evidence she has quoted, you can see the quotation marks here. And notice this part in green. This is what we call the attribution. She's attributing where this quote came from to the person, their first and last name, as well as their credibility. That's a basic 101 skill. You can never just plop down a quote. You've got to, before the quote, you've got to provide your reader with who the quote belongs to and what's their credibility. If you just plop down a quote, you're going to lose some points. So that's a basic 101 skill. Notice again, we have the signal phrase with the word says, present tense, literary present tense. So she has the person's first and last name. She has their credibility. She has the quote. She has the MLA indirect quotation style with the quoted in. And then she's labeled it. He's considered an expert because he's a criminologist who is reporting out statistics and data. Her second reason, again, the violence associated with these gangs has decreased. She didn't just have that in her head. It was through her reading of the pro-con and the rest of the report. She put it into her own words. She gives evidence. Now, in this case, her evidence is coming from her pro-con. She identifies the con side of the argument, the person making the argument, first and last name, as well as their title. It's always listed there in the pro-con. And then the signal phrase argues, literary present tense. She doesn't just plop down the paraphrase of what Sheila Beatty says. She puts in the idea, who is attributed, where the idea is attributed to. And so this, you'll notice there's no quotation marks. So what she's done is she's taken something from Sheila Beatty's con side of the argument and she's paraphrased it into her own words. This was 2008. There was no AI chat box or Quillbox or ChatGPT or Quillbox or any of that. So she had to do, the literal paraphrase in her own. So, and then she had the citation. You'll notice this citation, it doesn't have the quoted in because it's a paraphrase, right? But it's still the citation that goes with it. And then she identified it. And then here's her works cited page. Very similar to the kind of thing you'll have. It's a little error there. The period should be inside the quotation mark. And CQ Researcher is in italics. You're going to do something very similar. Now, typically where students end up losing a lot of points for this assignment is they just plop down quotes without attributions. They plop down reasons that aren't complete sentences. It's like they're bulleted out without being complete sentences. They fail to capitalize and add periods, which is weird to me, but they do. They forget to add in citations or the citations are wrong. And they forget to label the type of evidence they're using, and oftentimes they will forget their works cited entry, or they make errors in the works cited entry, or they add one source but not another, that sort of thing. So I hope that you'll just give this a little bit of attention and not just vomit something up on a page and turn it in. It's worth 15 points, and it's can be frustrating. Why is it worth 15? Oh yeah, it's worth 15 points. I forget why. We have, you know, in terms of the scoring, to score the full 10 points, you want to have all of the components with no errors. And then you can have up to 2 errors and still score 80% of the points for the content. But once you get 3 to 5 errors, you're down to 60%. And 6 or more errors, this should actually just say 6 or more because sometimes it's 40%, which is not a good score. And remember, you do get an easy 5 points for simply addressing the issue and the topic that's been assigned. It's weird to me sometimes students will turn this in and it will be on some issue we're not even discussing. It's like they went to ChatGPT and said, write me an argument about. And then it's like, oops. So please pay attention. I want you to get the full points. You don't get a chance to rewrite it, and this will be the heart of your argument. You'll get this back from me. I will score it and I will give you feedback. And by the way, real quickly, let me say this last thing. If you have any errors in your reason or evidence, like for example, if you have ambiguity or you have assumption or you have logical fallacies, this is where I'm going to point it out. And I'm going to point those out for you so that you can fix them before you get ready to write your final paper. All right. Hope that helps.